In this video, we're looking at edge highlights, or otherwise known as subsurface scattering. There's probably more in-depth descriptions out there in all of the nerdy technical details. On a basic level, subsurface scattering is how light shines through and interacts with the skin rather than reflecting light. In Second Life, and any viewer that you might use, it's good to try and do it there and then, with a combination of projectors and wind lights or EEP settings or however you know them. But when you can't do that, that's when we have to do it in Photoshop. And there are 3 ways that I can think of at least how to do it. 2 of them fairly easy and quick, one of them a bit more refined. So here we have an image that I've color graded to how I want it, and now we just need to add some shadows, but more importantly, those highlights. Firstly, I'm just going to zoom in and find an area that I want to add a highlight to. But what we'll need to do is create a new group and a new layer, and we're going to select the actual image layer, then a lasso tool. You can use the polygonal or you can use a magnetic lasso tool, and you can go ahead and select your area. If you find it skips, you can just go back to where you were before and then continue. Tiny clicks might help things a little bit. What you then can do is go back to that original layer that you want for your highlight and select a soft brush tool. Then just paint around the edge. You can duplicate that layer by dragging it onto the new layer icon and change that to overlay. Then from there, what you need to do is go to select, modify, and contract. Now how much you want to contract it by is just going to depend on your personal preference, the resolution of the image, but what I'm going to do is select 5 pixels for this. After that, what you can just do is click delete on your keyboard and you're left with a hard line. But if you really want to, you can just go to filter, Gaussian blur, and anywhere between 0.5 and 1 pixels should be okay. And that's that done. Now if you do want to, you can always change the hue and saturation of the layer underneath, which is a more wider glow, to something that looks a bit more natural or that fits the scene. The other way is going to rely on if you made a alpha channel or a depth map beforehand. Because if we just scan the scene a bit more, we see these massive swords, and that's just going to be a pain. So I'm going to go to the channels tab and just select my alpha channel that I prepared for a depth map. I'm going to create a new layer again, and with this whole selection automatically done for me, I can do exactly what I did for the face on this sword. For the pen tool, I actually want to head over to a different photo and give a demonstration on where you would want to use the pen tool versus any of those quicker ways. So first, we'll go to that pen tool, or click P on the keyboard to get that prepped. Let's make a new group and a new layer, just like before. Now what you want to do is try and be smart about where you pick your anchor points. So for me, I'm going to just click about there, and then I'll just click near the bottom. And now what we want to do is just add more anchor points to try and trace this outline here. You can do that by clicking Control on the keyboard after you've selected an anchor point to drag it around. Now once you're happy with that outline, what you can just do is fully close the loop. Right click in that area and then make selection. Make sure the feather radius is set to 0 and anti-aliased. And you can do what you just did with the lasso and the alpha mask method. And again, set the layer to soft light or overlay. Drag that layer down to the new layer icon to duplicate it. And then you can also go to select, modify, and contract. And again, you probably want to try and mess around with this for your personal preference. I might actually lower it down to about 3 this time. And just hit delete to get rid of some pixels, and that's what you get. You can soften that up again, some Gaussian blur, and that's that. And this image is also an example of how you can achieve it in viewer with some wind lights and projectors. Here we just add in a little bit more. I hope this has helped in some way. If you want any more help, have any questions, ask away.